Welcome back to the news today. This is the Daily Debate. After a rocket fired from the Gaza Strip hit southern Israel on Friday, the Israeli army has moved to close two border crossings with Gaza, Erez and Kerem Shalom, both key points for the movement of people and goods. Reports are emerging that Hamas today arrested 5 people responsible for the firing. Israel's decision to close the crossings comes alongside Egypt's effort to double down on terror in the Sinai Peninsula after uncovering hundreds of tunnels running from Gaza into the Sinai Peninsula. The country's army demolished dozens of homes along the Gaza border and is reported to be setting up a 13-kilometer buffer zone with Gaza. Talks between Israel and Hamas are set to restart in Cairo, but when that will happen and how it will be affected by these border crossings is unclear. Joining me tonight is Dimitri Diliani, member of Fatah Revolutionary Council. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And also Mr. Zvi Mazel, Ambassador Zvi Mazel, a former Israeli ambassador to Egypt. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming.
And researcher at the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs.
And what you just, of course, added. Before we will start talking, let's look at what our viewers had to say about the subject. Ayman, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Lucy. As you mentioned, the Israeli government has decided to close its border crossings with the Gaza Strip, while Egypt maintains its operation for a buffer zone on the Sinai-Gaza border. But is this decision necessary, or will it prove to be negative in the long run? We put the question to our viewers. We asked them, do you agree with the closure of Gaza's borders by Israel and Egypt? Now, Israel has decided on closing the border crossings with the Gaza Strip following rocket fire into southern Israel. But do our viewers globally think this was the right move? Let's take a look together at the results of our daily poll. As you can see, Lucy, an overwhelming majority, 91% voted yes, only 8% voted no. But we also asked our viewers to weigh in with their comments on the issue. Let's review what they shared with us today. First up, we have Declan, who says, sadly yes, and Gaza needs to be freed, but freed from Hamas. The selective outrage around the world needs to wake up too. Now, he's referring to the ongoing criticism of Israel over its operations in Gaza. Next up, Mario tells us Israel has the right to destroy Hamas and also to imprison its leaders, Ismail Haniyeh and Khaled Mash'al, since they will never recognize the state of Israel as such, he says. So another comment there acknowledging the responsibility Hamas has on this decision to close the border. Let's take a look at another comment. Mutlaq tells us no, the border must be kept open. If there is terrorism in Gaza, this is the result of Israel's action. And this is important to note, as there are many who claim that this closure of the border could result in increased acts of hostility by Hamas, which may be counterproductive for Israel. Lastly, Helene says, yes, it is necessary to keep Israeli and Egyptian citizens safe. So there's also concern for the safety of the Egyptian people, which may be the reason that Egypt is keeping its border with Gaza closed. But that concludes our comment section for today. As always, we encourage our viewers to continue sharing their ideas with us on Facebook and Twitter and having their say by voting on the daily poll on i24news.tv. Back to you, Lucy.
Yes, Ayman, thank you very much. These, let's say, comments are already making my guests move a little bit uncomfortable in their chairs. I will start with you, Ambassador Mazel. Maybe this action by Israel, especially at this point, especially when we know that Israel one way or another want or doesn't want to start rebuilding or take some kind of a position of the rebuilding of the Gaza Strip. Maybe this is not the time to close the borders on people who doesn't have anything to do with the terror coming out of the Gaza Strip.
Sure. First of all, I'm going to tell you that I'm very comfortable.
You are?
Yes. And second thing, Hamas violated the truce. It's a fact. They sent a rocket. Only one rocket. So nobody responsible. We should continue, because we should not care about our population in the south of Israel. You know, when you send one rocket, it's enough to create terror, especially based on the past. We know that till now we had from Gaza 15,000 in the last 7 years, or 15,000 rockets. And the population lives under terrorism. And we knew that even after the truce, the last war in Gaza, they will start again, because this is the way how they live, how they think. So I mean, you want us not to defend ourselves, because the population is not responsible. Who is responsible? So is no one responsible in Gaza? Because, I mean, Hamas may shoot or may not shoot, or Hamas will tell us that it was a small, very small organization, you know, a very small group that did it. No, Hamas took upon himself the control of Gaza. You remember in what condition they killed hundreds of Palestinians, throwing them from the 6th floor and shooting them in the knees. Just a moment, let me finish.
Yes.
So we have a problem of a extremist organization that is sworn to destroy Israel, and we are trying to defend ourselves in normal conditions. I think that till now our answer so far has been mild, very mild.
But when Hamas is arresting, I want to ask, when Hamas is arresting 5 people, like reports are saying, it seems that Hamas also understands the consequences of these rocket firing towards Israel. So it means that it's not really comfortable also for Hamas, but to do a collective punishment on all the people in the Gaza Strip maybe can be a little bit problematic to Israel.
This is a game and hypocrisy, because Hamas is in control. Hamas has security people, whatever you want. They control Gaza. They don't give one square centimeter to Abu Mazen. All this is a bluff. All this government, united government, is a bluff. It doesn't exist. And Abu Mazen knows very well, and our friend here, Dimitri, knows that Ramallah has no control, no sway on Gaza.
Okay, so is it a bluff? Is it?
No, I think Gaza has been under siege since 1988. This is nothing new. Siege. And you're going to let me finish, because I let you
We withdraw.
Let me finish.
Let him finish.
The facts. So you are distorting the facts. Sorry, sir. You are distorting the facts.
I promise you, you're not going to finish one sentence, old man. You gotta respect people too.
Please.
Okay. Gaza has been under siege since 1988. This is not to them. The fact that Israel is willing to put 1.8 million people under Titan siege for a rocket, whatever you want to call it, it makes us scratch our heads and say, why did Israel go into war against the Palestinian people in Gaza? Why did they kill 2,159 people and so the problem is not solved? Because one thing, this is a bloodthirsty, trigger-happy government that has people so much up in the supremacist ideology that they're willing to put 1.8 people into more misery after war because they don't want to get a pinch of pain. Plus, I have to ask this question. Well, not ask, make this statement. When you have a little kid pinching you, yes, he is annoying, or she, but they're not going to kill you. But they're annoying. That doesn't give you the right to pull up your gun and shoot them in the head. What Israel did is exactly that. And the talk about normal conditions, you cannot live normally. Israel cannot live normally without peace. There's no peace, and there has not.
The people in the south of Israel, the people in the south of Israel are not living normally for the last 14 years.
And they shouldn't expect. And nobody in Israel should expect to live normally if they occupy other people's land. If they have this dream.
Why not if the Gaza Strip right now is not occupied?
No, hold on. Gaza Strip is part of, well, first of all, it is occupied. Being under siege is part of occupation. That's one. Two,
what you are saying is
let me finish. Okay. Two, Gaza and the West Bank, including Jerusalem, is the land of the state of Palestine. If one part of it is freed, which is not the case for Gaza, but for argument's sake, it's freed, that doesn't, and the other part is occupied, that doesn't make that little part peaceful. If I give you another example, let's say that Hezbollah decided to bomb Haifa, and then the guys from Tel Aviv, they start shooting rockets at Lebanon, southern Lebanon. Hezbollah cannot say, well, I didn't touch you, Tel Aviv. I just touched Haifa. It's one country. You occupy Jerusalem, you occupy Gaza, you occupy the West Bank. Plus,
is very interesting. I didn't know that Gaza and Ramallah was the same, the West Bank. I know that Gaza is completely controlled by Hamas. And you have to admit it. Don't tell the one opinion through that micro, because this is not true.
They are the Palestinian people.
In 2007, Hamas expelled
Yes.
Abu Mazen
Yes.
and his friends. So
Yes.
it's being controlled by an Islamic,
In
not a
1995,
Palestinian.
you killed your own prime minister, so things happen.
Don't compare, it's nothing to do.
What do you mean don't
cannot
compare, nothing to do?
Okay, there was a criminal who did it, but Hamas is criminal. Hamas is not even a Palestinian organization, it's an Islamic organization. Please read the charter of Hamas. It's a wing of the Muslim Brothers. This is why that organization has problems with Egypt, because it supports Muslim Brothers. So, just a moment, let me finish. We, Israel, Prime Minister Sharon decided to show to the world what are the Palestinians, whether they are really decent people or not. Now you understand they are not.
People.
Let me finish.
I'm not going to let you finish. We are decent people. More than you will ever be. So watch your mouth, old man. I'm telling you for the last time. Do not disrespect my people.
No.
Okay?
Listen, I am following history and the real facts. You are creating a false narrative. You're telling us that the Palestinian people existed since 2,000 years.
So what do you want? What do you want?
We never occupied the Palestinian state. Peace.
What do you want?
We want peace.
How are you going to do that? My peace comes with a state. How are you going to do that?
We proposed to you in
1937 border.
Just in 1937, Peel Committee. In 47, partition
I'm going to go along with them if you let me.
Okay.
So we're not good for peace.
You always rejected all the propositions, everything.
So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? You're going to keep on killing.
No, you keep lying to the world. And
what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it?
Continue to be strong.
No one can
Continue
understand
to
you.
kill.
Yeah, that's
No
all.
one
Thank
can
you very
understand
much.
you. Gentlemen, Gentlemen, just a second. I have a phoner on the line. Joining to the conversation from the Gaza Strip is Dr. Hani Bassous, political scientist, Islamic University of Gaza. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
So I don't know if you're hearing right now the conversation that we're having here in the studio, but I will point maybe the question to you because these gentlemen are not allowing me to point any questions. But what is the role of Egypt in this case? Okay, Israel's the one to blame. The Palestinian Authority in one way is the one to blame. Where's Egypt? Isn't Egypt the one to blame also for the current situation of the Gaza Strip?
Well, I think Egypt takes some of the responsibility. Of course, Egypt has been for a long time looking at the situation in Palestine and in the Gaza Strip. Egypt was in Gaza from 1948 till 1967, and it was in full control of the Gaza Strip. Egypt was a main mediator between the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. And when the deal was done about Shalit and Palestinian prisoners, Egypt has been always the main mediator between Fatah and Hamas. I think Egypt is still playing kind of augmentation player in both Palestinians and Israeli side. And I think still would have some of the responsibilities toward the Palestinians and the Palestinian case, and mainly in the Gaza Strip. So Egypt, by closing the Rafah crossing points, I think causing more humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. But this does not mean at all that the Israeli side has not have the responsibility. Israel, as an occupation forces in the Gaza and in the West Bank, would have the full responsibility under the international law.
Yes,
despite the fact that the Palestinian Authority was established upon the Oslo Agreement, which was signed in 1993. But this Oslo Agreement did not make the Palestinians having their own state, and does not mean that there is independence for the Palestinians.
Yes, Dr. Bassous, thank you very much for this. Can you really separate between the Palestinians who are living in the West Bank to the Palestinians and living in the Gaza Strip? You see them as two different people?
Two entities. Listen, we signed an agreement with Arafat. We signed an agreement, the Oslo Agreement.
So we're speaking about three-state solution. It's not two-state solution anymore.
No. Gaza and the West Bank were together. At a certain time, Gaza was taken over by a coup d'etat. You agree?
Yeah.
Yes. By Hamas, and they have constituted a very important security force. Okay, that governs this entity, and they are shooting on Israel, kept shooting on Israel. Now, there are no Israeli troops. We withdraw, and we told them, please do something, build a country, beginning of a country, economy, tourism, agriculture. They did nothing. They burned.
You have 30 seconds.
The whole notion of dividing the Palestinian people after the refugees were sent away by, probably he was alive then in part of it, but in 1948. But what I want to say is that we are one nation. We have defined our borders. We have recognized the state of Israel. It's time for Israel to define its borders and recognize the state of Palestine. Other than that, there is no genuine will
to recognize.
You will continue to kill people. Then.
Mr. Diliani, Ambassador Mazel, thank you very much for coming.
It was just the beginning of the debate.
Beginning of the debate. 2 minutes and I'll be back. Yeah. Of course, it's always...